Oxygen, the hot hand is hitting heavy right now, Corelli.
Oh, absolutely. These guys matched up a couple weeks ago in the grid. Oxygen getting the better of Endpoint. Oxygen tend to do better in the grid than they have fared in some of these regionals. But like the Desk has been saying, like you've been saying, I think it's a very obvious point here for Oxygen. If they get going, if they get hot, they're playing well. They are a team that is one of the best in Europe, and Endpoint have to look out. And I'd look towards that disruptive play style that Endpoint always brings to try and kind of change things up for Oxygen, not let them play to the pace they want to.
Astral especially seems to have found that gear that helped him drive Dignitas's offense, or at least be one of the drivers for it. And since coming to Oxygen, it had been, you know, very scarce. You didn't see the Astral of Dignitas that often. Every now and then he'd pop out the typical mechanical moves you expect, but today it's been another level from him, and his teammates have both benefited from it. I mean, Farah especially has really kicked up his game as well.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about Oxygen is when they brought on Astral, as he gets a goal here, I thought this was surely going to be saved, but so many people were in front of the net. I'm not sure what happened to Metzenaris here. He backed up too far into the net. He's just too deep, and he can't make the save. And I didn't even gas that one up, Jorby. I thought Metzenaris had that save all the way, and Astral will get a free goal as we were calling his name.
Yeah, he was sitting right in front of it. I was expecting the save as well. It's just in. Sometimes that's how it happens. Metzenaris just missing off the post for Endpoint, but Astral downfield again. It's the start Oxygen will take every time. Now it's up to Endpoint to make sure it doesn't snowball out of control.
Absolutely. That was exactly what I was about to say, was for Endpoint, you really don't want to let Oxygen have this quick early lead and then start pulling away from you. And this is good from Endpoint to at least respond back with some pressure after that goal and put Oxygen on the back foot. You don't want to let them establish any midfield control or let Astral on the ball. As we were talking about him earlier, I think anyone going up against Astral, no matter what team he's on, you don't want him on the ball. But this Oxygen team have slowly started to figure out his place here in this rotation when you have another weapon like Chaussette, and it's been proven to be very lethal when it works.
Oh, Endpoint couldn't grab the ball. Metzenaris fell away from it. Virtuoso was forced into another save. Oxygen grabbed the ball back after Endpoint had a brief stint in the orange half, but other than that, they aren't really able to hang on to the ball too much. They're forced to react to Oxygen on offense. Yeah, they might have a good push. Virtuoso looking for relating wave, but they're going to have to play off of Chaussette's ball, and that proves difficult. You saw Astral cutting right in front off that initial 50. So Endpoint, some early game struggles in getting some consistent opportunities or just hanging on to the ball in general.
Unfortunate there for Oxygen. Chaussette had no boost, and a great pass here from Virtuoso. Didn't hit it hard enough, though. He had the right idea. Relating wave's still there. Endpoint trying to get that passing game going, and weren't able to connect perfectly there.
Oh, Virtuoso barely sneaks away with that save. He had missed a bit earlier in midfield, tried to keep the push up, but Oxygen almost found another goal. Chaussette denied by Metzenaris. Quick counterattack, and the shot was good from Relating Wave. Endpoint tied up.
Look at Metzenaris with no boost to stretch out back post to get the save, and a great pass from Virtuoso. We had just mentioned it earlier. A couple little passes in the midfield were starting to pop up for Endpoint, and that's a great one over to Relating Wave. He had open space on the right side and a free net to shoot on.
Metzenaris will start for Endpoint here in the corner. A nice little carry from Metz and the dunk as well. Maybe this gets Endpoint set up here. Good pass from Metz to Virtuoso, but Chaussette was in the way. Those are the kind of plays you like to see develop out of Endpoint. They get a few more of those kicking. Oxygen might be looking twice before they make a decision.
Yeah, the only thing missing was just the boost for both teams right now. That man who needs to make the crucial pass or crucial shot just doesn't have any boost to work with. And this one popped up towards Astral as he's forced to jump up and knock it away.
The 3-point passing play for Endpoint is easily fended off by Farah. Just a lot of high, slow approaches by Endpoint. Two are close in midfield. Virtuoso cutting in against Astral, but this is not the retreat that is the most comfortable for Endpoint. Metzenaris on the back wall will eventually get back to the ball, but that certainly could have turned for the worse for Endpoint had Metanaris not immediately left. And Astral takes the ball right back. He got the catch. Almost had the pop. I thought he was going to have the flick there against Relating Wave.
And those types of plays, you can really see, even in a lobby like this full of pro players, how much respect Astral gets. Everyone saw him get that flip reset. Didn't have to use it. That just bought him space as he landed. And he was able to pick the ball back up into a flick. And when you're a player like Astral, you kind of get that space because you're Astral. And you can do stuff like that.
Yeah, when he has too many options, and he's like, well, he could do like 4 different things here. Like, you know, what choice do you make as a defender? It can be so difficult to try to find the right premonition, if you will. But Endpoint have done well enough, especially on defense. Neither team has gotten, I would say, consistent shots on net, more so an opportunity or two. Endpoint's counterattack is pretty scary. Consistently, they've usually had 2 players break out Corelli and have forced Oxygen to retreat pretty quickly every time. But this is off the kickoff, and Chaussette sneaks it right through the center. Oxygen will quickly end this overtime in game 1.
Great touch by Astral. That speed just past that first man. You could see how much space Chaussette had coming onto that ball. No one was up to challenge him. That's such a scary sight to see with Chaussette behind the ball on that shot. And Oxygen are better for it with a 1-0 series lead.
No, I didn't think this was anything too crazy from Oxygen either. Endpoint, they had a couple of scary counterattack opportunities, but other than that, I mean, you look back to that first goal from Oxygen, Corelli, that Astral shot right in front of Metanaris. He was just too far back in net. He couldn't catch up to the power on the shot. Had that not happened, maybe Endpoint could have survived and it never would have went to overtime. But, you know, overall, I didn't think that Endpoint, beyond that counterattack, they didn't have much consistency on offense.
I think the biggest glaring mistake was that first goal that you mentioned, Jorby. It was just Metanaris being too deep in that goal. That was really the separation here between those two teams for that single goal. Otherwise, I thought it was a very even match between these two teams. I think Oxygen had a bit more of a consistent attack, but Endpoint showed a lot of danger with their counterattacks. You pointed it out midway through that game, and I absolutely agree. It felt like Endpoint were very quick to move downfield, and Oxygen were struggling to keep up with the pace in transition.
So Oxygen like to start stacking the wins here. Get out of round 5 rather quickly. It's been a long day for both squads. Metanaris wants to head downfield to receive something, but Oxygen trying to keep midfield as impenetrable as they can. And Endpoint still can't really find a way through, but they're slowly moving their way forward. And as I say that, Chaussette gets a clean touch in midfield. Endpoint gonna have to return back and start off that Virtuoso boomer. Ooh, nice pass from Relating Wave, but Virtuoso landed right on his hood, so didn't get the bounce he wanted. Rather, there was a bounce. Astral, I don't know how. The waves just part when Astral's behind the ball. It's like players they get so scared. They're like, no, I don't want to get scored on by Astral, and they run away.
And it was kind of a similar thing I was describing before, and he almost gets one off the ceiling. The guy is always an option on the ball and off the ball. You have to keep track of him. He may come from the ceiling. He could take it himself with a flip reset. The man could do it all. We've sung his praises many times, but you're seeing here the space that is afforded to him and what a defense has to do to react when he's on the ball.
Well, Mets and Virtuoso were both looking for the net on that shot. Relating Wave plays this close. He's rewarded with possession, but can he get the ball? He can't. Farah was already up for it. It's been very good defense by Oxygen. You know, even if they don't get that rebound, the next man has always been ready for the follow-up right when the shot happens, or even before. Astral sneaks in off the crossbar, but it bounced out, and no dive from Chaussette was going to put that ball in the net. Astral, his challenge, knocked away by Relating Wave, but Oxygen are still set up here on offense. Metanaris has to be careful here. Chaussette going to pull away now, but that's just giving the ball back to Farah. Looking for Astral, who got a clean touch against Relating Wave against the back wall. But regardless of how it's looked, and Astral picking up a demo here, Oxygen trying a couple different options, and the ball ends up in their net instead.
What?
Metanaris just throws it downfield and says, save that.
just when you think Endpoint are on the ropes, Metzenaris gets a beautiful clear downfield, and I think he was just trying to get past that last man, or rather the first man in front of him, but right on target, and that's how you do it. Oxygen a bit too far pushed up. That demo certainly helped out as well, and all of a sudden, Endpoint on the board first.
And Oxygen had to have started getting frustrated that they couldn't put the ball in. And now, that's 2 balls that went in their net from Metzenaris, who is just not letting Astral have any fun.
Oh.
Or Relating Wave, rather.
Yeah, slow challenge there from Farah, and that ball just squeaked by him and his man in front of him. And ultimately, letting that one go through was the death sentence there for Oxygen. 2 goals up now, Endpoint, after feeling like they were under a lot of pressure. They're doing well to kind of sneak away some goals here, and Oxygen got some work to do now.
It could be the double-edged sword of trying to play so aggressively, really trying to push for a goal on offense. You saw how close Oxygen were rotating together. Chaussette somehow, Astral will get credit for this, but Chaussette straight up pulls a magic trick through 2 cars.
I can't believe he won this challenge. I think it actually came off a Virtuoso, and I don't know how Astral even got a touch on that. It was all Chaussette, but I'm pretty sure that ball came off Virtuoso. It happened so quickly. It was hard to tell, but
the magic trick.
It was a magic trick. What can you say?
Well, work your magic. Virtuoso putting this up towards the back wall. Certainly getting more interesting. If you can't think of a better term for it.
We're not setting a good example here, Jorby. There's a lot of people new to the game. We can't say that there's magic in Rocket.
Well, that's absolutely not true. I mean, have you seen? We saw Astral hit some crazy stuff earlier.
Nice.
That is Virtuoso picking this up, but again, it's Metzenaris making life difficult, and then Relating Wave hitting a sneaky pass.
Chaussette.
And see ya. It's gone. He's gone.
Wide open. Metzenaris. It was all him. I mean, it's good to put the ball on net there, but all Metzenaris to open up that backfield and just smack the sock out of the way.
See, that's what new players have to learn, Corelli. That's a different kind of magic trick. You know? How to tilt your opponent in 3 seconds or less. Just demo them once. You know?
True. I'm guaranteed to make a lot of friends online doing that one.
That's a magic trick if you can spur an emotion through a video game. Astral demo, but no goal. And Relating Wave will pop it right by for Virtuoso, but Endpoint sitting comfortably on a 2-goal lead in a very tight rotation that has afforded them, you know, a scoreless possession for Oxygen, now in retreat. Chaussette tried to cut the angle. Astral will catch it again, but after that first series of that first sequence from Oxygen, Corelli, they've really struggled to put consistent opportunities out. Even if they're carrying right here, Endpoint really aren't giving on any of these slow approaches from Oxygen.
And Endpoint again, quick down the field. That transition play, Virtuoso gets a piece of Farah too. I think Metzenaris was a bit thrown off, but that counterattack and transition game from Endpoint is what's really paying off for them here in this game. Multiple times now they've been able to open up several chances on target. Look at the shot from Virtuoso. And you can see they just keep going. And Oxygen struggling to break out. They just got to throw it downfield.
Chaussette's going to dive, and he'll hit 2 players, but no ball, which is not the outcome Chaussette was hoping for. And Endpoint will take this game away. I got to say, it was... I mean, Endpoint gave us more of the same. The counterattack was still really threatening. Virtuoso had some nice plays to open up some space. But Relating Wave's passing, I mean, he had 2 assists, but there was a couple of other passes he had that really made life difficult for Oxygen on defense.
Yeah, look, I think this was a great game. This is the type of game that Endpoint want. I mean, sure, the long clear from Metzenaris isn't really what you draw up, but the bump from Metzenaris definitely is getting physical with those last defenders. And Endpoint on that transition game, you know, they got that speed to move downfield and keep possession. That's the key, is keeping the possession as you move downfield on transition. Endpoint have done a spectacular job of that here through, I'd say, even 2 games.
Oxygen, they'd like to get back to that first minute of game 2 where they could seemingly do no wrong in their rotation in the attacking third on Endpoint territory. thought that they were going to score. Like Astral had a couple of close opportunities that he was just missing the mark on, but he had to find the tough angles because Endpoint were closing the easier ones. So we'll see if Oxygen can recover after that, or if Endpoint can take the driver's seat in the match. They'll take the first shot, but it will be easily fended off by Astral.
I think it really is on Oxygen to try and regain some sort of control in this game. And that one's going to float back to the net. Chassette's going to put it in himself. I think it hit the post, but he missed the aerial either way. And it's another back long clear for Metzenaris. And it was going to go wide. Chassette accidentally taps it in. I cannot believe that for Metzenaris and Endpoint.
There must be some sort of filter that happens if Metzenaris is on the back wall and he's about to boom it. And they're like, oh no.
No.
We can't do anything. We're just, what's going on? Metzenaris got 2 long clear goals, and then Virtuoso gets another easy one here. It was a perfect pop for him on the cheetah.
Yeah, and Chassette went left to get the boost, and instead of turning around to the left, he turned to the right towards the field, and it took him a bit longer to get back. I don't think it would have made a difference much. But unfortunately, 2 quick goals and a flip reset from Relating Wave, threatening a third, and Virtuoso's there. Can he put it away? He does. And a 3-goal lead in 30 seconds for Endpoint.
Now, Oxygen don't even get a chance to breathe at all as Metzenaris, he just pinched it off the car. And Virtuoso was ready for it. The rest of Oxygen were spread. Nobody had the net cover at all. Third man was still on the far side of the field, closer to the sidewall than he was the net, and there was no way you were catching up to that ball in time. 3-0 in the first 35 seconds.
Oxygen have got some work to do here, and it really just starts with getting a kickoff and get into the game and avoid the instant shot on target. And so far they are here. Already 26 seconds into this kickoff just about, and still staying alive. And I think for them, it's really about regaining that pace of the game.
Well, now Oxygen, they got to play more defense. Farah had to come the whole way from the goal line to get to that challenge. She didn't get it, but Oxygen still get out of their own half. Now it's about locking Endpoint in whatever way they can, but Farah instead locks out Astral by running right into each other, and Endpoint are given a freebie.
Yeah, Farah just coming back and get a little tangled up there in front of Astral. And Virtuoso has an open net to shoot on again. He's got a hat trick here in this game. You're a minute and about 20 seconds in, and it's 4-0.
Not sure what happened to Oxygen, especially on that first, or not the first, but the second, and then the third, and then the fourth, and then the fifth, and it just doesn't end for Oxygen. When will the ball finally not find the back of their net?
And here's the worst part about this goal is I don't even think Relating Wave was trying to score that. He was just challenging Astral. And that challenge went clean through him into the back of the net. And like you said, Joby, we're sitting at 5-0, and you're kind of scratching your head going, what on earth has happened to Oxygen?
Well, Astral will get the next carry. He's going to take it himself, but Relating Wave was already in the air, and it wasn't a problem. But now Astral just nowhere close. The pass wasn't close to Astral. Astral couldn't even get close to the pass, and it was a broken play. Astral forced into another saving opportunity. Relating Wave sneaks through Chassette. The follow-ups are just so slow from Oxygen. Astral finally getting a couple of key touches, and you hope just for some pick-me-up goals, so this doesn't happen again in Game 4. I mean, I don't mean to sound that way with almost over half the game left to go. But
man.
It's 6-0. This game's over.
And that one, I think Oxygen had a couple players there on the back wall. Astral accidentally getting caught on the crossbar, and that's why he couldn't get back to it. I thought I saw someone on the back wall, and I thought surely he could make the save, but unfortunately runs over the crossbar and loses his angle to challenge. And my goodness, 11 shots to 1. Guess who with the lead in shots? Endpoint. Sitting mighty fine here in Game 3.
Well, anything that could go wrong has gone wrong. You know, bumping into your teammates, rotating back, can't find the right positioning on the backboard and end up losing all control of your car, not being in the right position, and the ball is just boomed into your net for, well, I'm sure Oxygen are just as upset about it right now. They have would certainly love the reset at this point. When I think maybe there's a positive if you know, you lose this hard, 6-0. You're really just playing for scraps until the next game. So, you know, this next 2 or so minutes might be a good time for the mental reset for Oxygen, because they can't go into game 4 tilted and still feeling this onslaught that Endpoint have given them. Otherwise, the same thing just might happen again. They are really disjointed right now.
Yeah, and if I'm Oxygen, I'm thinking back to some of these goals, and some of them were kind of the worst case scenario for them, right? You have a couple of mechanical misplays, like you pointed out. You have a couple where Relating Wave just barrels through Astral and his challenge is straight on the net. You have Metanaris who just clears it downfield and it's straight on the net, and Chaussette accidentally double taps it off the inside of his post. I mean, that's ridiculous to even say, yet it happens. So for Oxygen, you got to kind of shake this one off, because when you think about the most of the goals scored here, it does feel like worst case scenario happening for him.
Yeah, it's just completely gotten away from them. And Astral has resorted most of the time to just trying to carry this ball himself and taking it the length of the pitch. But even right there, like, I mean, I'm not gonna deduce too much from what's happening on the pitch right now, but it did also feel like, in addition to everything else, that there was no confidence in when or how to go when Endpoint were behind the ball on offense. Like Chaussette would sit for too long before he should challenge. Like the timing was all off, or you know, the second or third man weren't in the position that you'd think they should be in for the play that the first man was going for. And that's why it feels so disjointed, because sometimes second man thinks Astral or Fair is going for a pass, but instead it was just an air dribble, or they're not looking at Endpoint and being like, oh yeah, this isn't going to get challenged, but there's 2 Endpoint cars in the vicinity. And so that's why, you know, Crowley, like you said, scratching your head. And we're getting down to the final 30 seconds. Oxygen, they definitely stabilized, but really just trying to smack this ball around, trying to get the mindset back in the right place. And no absolute slaughter would be a true Rocket League slaughter without a Brazil.
You have to see it. I was in the back of my head. I thought maybe they'd go for it. They wait till the end of the game, and here they are, 7-1. Of course, a Brazil for Endpoint. But look, we talked about Oxygen and what they need to do and all that fun stuff. But I think for Endpoint, boy, oh boy, this game, I don't even think there was a word to describe how well it went for them. I mean, like, this was...
I'm sorry, Corelli, when you score from literally the top of the ramp on your own side of the field, like it was just like, okay, pop Boomer into the net. For like, it's going to be that kind of game. I get to do nothing.
Exactly. It went so well. I mean, I don't even know what the word is to describe how well this went for Endpoint. And you know, I don't want to take away, there were some good goals from Endpoint as well here in this game. And this one certainly is you're going to look back on this one and be like, my goodness, if you watch the film on this one, if you're Oxygen, you got to just shake this one off, because that's a rough one to lose. And you still got more games to play. That wasn't like the final game. Now you're Oxygen, you're sitting here and you're like, okay, well, we just lost 8-1 and some of those goals were kind of ridiculous, but now we got to get back into this. I mean, we're here to win. Yeah.
Can't get much worse.
It can't get worse than this. It seriously cannot.
How often have we seen 10 goals scored in an RLCS match? It's not been, I think it's happened like once or twice. I know Crooksier did it. I don't remember if that was Mouse or if it was Flipside. It feels like forever ago now. But either way, Oxygen, we've said pretty much everything and threw it out the window on what we could about Oxygen. And hopefully they threw everything out the window about Game 3. But Virtuoso, I think that apart from this game, I've really liked how Virtuoso has been developing. Like he's been not just going for demos for the sake of demos, which is something that everyone loved watching Virtuoso for when he first kind of stormed onto the scene. But the more I watch him play, the less I see him just going for demos for little or, you know, high risk reasons. Instead, they are coming in more advantageous places, and he's more so developed into this good first man role for Endpoint, I feel.
Oh, absolutely. That's how I've always put him as for Endpoint. And you're right, he's gotten a lot smarter about when to kind of chase players down and when to let them go and just get back into the rotation. And that's why we're seeing success for Endpoint. And off the kickoff, it's right back to work for them as they get one.
Success for Metanaris. That's a great touch from Virtuoso. Speedily up on the kickoff. He beat him by what was probably a quarter second and just got it right off the ceiling. So, well, Endpoint kick off where they left off for all they care, and they might get a second.
No.
Farah completely misses this read, and just the defense is so divey from Oxygen. Nobody is ready for anything that Endpoint throw at him.
Yeah, and Oxygen really need to get into the game and get out of the kickoff phase, and they are here. Find some sort of pace here, because right now, Endpoint just looks so much faster and so much better, and it's the worst case scenario start for them. They instantly give up a goal, and they find themselves down in the first 5 seconds.
Oh no, this was just... Okay, well, Chaussette got it, but somehow Virtuoso beat all 3 Oxygen players, and now Oxygen beat themselves by leaving the net open. Or Endpoint, excuse me, beat themselves leaving the net open, not Oxygen. Been used to the other way around. Relating Wave just missing the touch there. He had to fight Astral. But Metzenar still comes away with it. Virtuoso downfield, blocked by Chaussette. Oh, Oxygen, they can use that to boost the energy. And here comes one more from Farah. Bouncer, but diving save from Virtuoso. Chaussette, long ball to Farah. Shot is not good. Relating Wave gets in front of it, and Endpoint keep the lead.
And this is great offense, though, from Oxygen. They're getting players to go, and Farah off the crossbar. Follow-up. Astral couldn't get there. I think Virtuoso might have gotten a piece of him. And this one cleared out for Endpoint, but just for the moment.
He got it. What? Oh, man. I really thought that was it for Oxygen. They got to try again. They got some space. Astral, you need to kick it high over to Farah. Farah shot, blocked again. Relating Wave put it into Metzenaris' car. Otherwise, that was going to be an own goal.
Yeah, I'm
wow.
I'm not sure Relating Wave's touch was good enough there. It came off of Metzenaris, and he got the save. And Oxygen putting on that offense that we know they can there. And that's a great look for Oxygen, even though they come away scoreless here. That's the type of offense and intensity, that urgency downfield is what we want to see more of out of Oxygen. We know it's there, and they're showing it here, a glimpse of it in Game 4.
Yeah, that last opportunity, if you're Oxygen, you could definitely chalk it up to some Endpoint luck. And it is already way better than Game 3 ever was for Oxygen. Halfway through, have only allowed 1 goal, and in fact, they've been putting together more of the offense. Chaussette tried to catch it, but Virtuoso knew it. Metzenaris quickly turns, and it butts back into Relating Wave, but he recovers and grabbed the ball again. Oxygen were a little bit far back on the midfield line, but this is still going to be their ball. Astral, he wants Farah. Metzenaris is starting to sniff that out. They've gone for that passing play more than a couple of times in a row now. Finally, Metzenaris, Virtuoso as well, cut it off in midfield. Endpoint have survived again.
And those lateral passes, the 90-degree ones, are always the most dangerous. You usually want a bit of an angle on it to prevent that from happening. What Metzenaris did, getting a piece of the ball and the player there. But Oxygen looking better on offense. I mean, we sit here and we say they're doing better, but they've got to convert now. They're still down by a goal, let's not forget. But they are showing a lot more poise.
Leaving it out. Yeah. I mean, they've definitely gotten lucky on one of them at least. Only one, though. But hey, when you've been playing so well, I'm definitely very fond of the saying that you create your own luck. And you put yourself in the best spot for success, and sometimes fortune goes your way. Oxygen would love some fortune of their own. Virtuoso and Relating Wave will force them to look again, but Virtuoso has been such a nuisance to win 50s against. Here's a counterattack. Astral put it high. No good for Oxygen, and now it's about pressure. Oh, Virtuoso lets it drop, but Metzenaris comes in to close the gap again.
They're getting closer and closer on these plays. Setting up Astral was good there on that shot, just a bit too high. Not spending so much time on defense either, but you never know when Endpoint could sneak one by, and you would love to get this goal here. You got 45 seconds left.
Endpoint, 2 on the back wall. Virtuoso probably got a little far away from Farah. Maybe expecting Virtuoso to play that ball into him. Didn't matter. Oxygen got the ball back. They got to grab this in midfield. Chaussette grabs it there. Farah takes a player out. So Endpoint, they might be a little staggered. Astral looks for the hole, but Virtuoso, ever so patient, grab the ball at the last second. Metzenaris trying to roll it out. Farah looking for a bump on the back, but Relating Wave. Now he stayed strong on the goal line, and now time is ticking to its end for Oxygen. Chaussette One more chance back over to Astral. Well, they can work with something here. They've got a little bit of space, but that is not the passing play. Relating Wave was sitting on it all day long, and Endpoint have defeated Oxygen here in Game 4. They're out.
Wow. I think it was, what, 12? Yeah, 12 shots from Oxygen here in this game alone. So many chances for them to put one away. They look so much better. In fact, they looked like the Oxygen that we expected from them coming into this series. This was a great game from Oxygen, I feel like. Yeah, they gave up that kickoff goal in the first 5 seconds, but outside of that, I felt like they controlled the pace of the game. They had a lot of opportunity. Endpoint got some lucky saves, I think, on the goal line there, especially with the one coming off a Relating Wave to Metanaris. So for Oxygen, though, I think everything went right for them here in this game. They just couldn't convert 12 shots. You can't find one in the back of the net. That's the issue.
Yeah, and they even did get creative after those passing plays, those long lateral passing plays weren't working. It caught Endpoint off guard a couple of times, but Relating Wave on the defensive end, and then Metanaris, who had 5 saves in that game. I mean, there were some tough shots that they had to save, and I absolutely give credit to the Endpoint defense for, in large part, to at least save. I mean, they had, what, 8 saves, so 8 out of the 12 shots. And then I think a few of the ones they weren't able to touch, it was just off the post or off the crossbar. But either way, Corelli, they missed the only shots they could have taken. And that is it for Oxygen. We got more Rocket League coming up after the small break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.